Times like these are tough for all of us, and sticking together is more important than ever. One of the ways we can do that is supporting local businesses. So let's take a second to talk about one of Okie Show's favorite small businesses, Squishy OKC. Squishy provides custom apparel and graphic design work. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, you name it. Their custom artwork is super fun and totes adorbs. Here's an impression of me seeing Squishy OKC stuff for the first time. Oh my gosh, look how cute it is! If this is something you're interested in, follow @SquishyOKC on Instagram. Squishy OKC!
Hello and welcome to the podcast that explores the Heartland's entertainment industries. I'm Brian. And I'm joined today by the ghost of Nicholas Szabo.
Yeah, sorry, I was just doing Brian trying to nail the intro.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A little bit rusty.
Yeah, we're joined via Zoom, as is the rest of the planet during this particular time in history, because that's just the cool thing to do. You know, we could have met because the lockdown's starting to go down, but we were like, why do that when the new norm is Zooming?
Fashionable. It's the fashionable thing to do. Plus, I really enjoy talking to people when they're not in the same room as me.
It's really nice, isn't it?
I get to spread out. I never get to do that.
You're not wearing pants. I'm not wearing pants.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I haven't worn pants in I don't even know how long.
And when you are in the same room as someone not wearing pants,
you know, then it gets awkward. But then we're like, you know what? I can just go in the other room and we could Zoom.
So, Bri, how's I guess it's a little post-quarantine, but how's just the social isolation?
Yeah, man. Well, let's see here. This has been, okay, so today is Monday, May 25th.
Mm-hmm.
This thing started March, 15th or something?
Something like that, like
mid-March
quarantine. Or I feel like it was in February because we were planning on some kind of Valentine's Day thing. Not you and me and my wife.
No, we were planning for our Valentine's Day date.
We were planning for our Valentine's Day date,
and this thing just threw a wrench into it.
Just shut down. Yeah, so I think it was in February, even
gosh.
back then.
I know. Well, the quarantine started March,
right?
So March, April, May. So this has been 3 months of this social distance crap.
It really just.
Yeah.
Do
you realize it's been a quarter of a year? It is. You could write this quarantine off on your taxes.
Yeah. No, this whole thing has just been. I haven't realized how much time is going by. I haven't noticed that. We miss spring. We miss the 30 days.
Yeah.
We miss the 30 days a year where it's actually nice outside. Now it's just so hot. Awesome.
And I feel like I've actually done quite a bit of growing, of changing. Mm-hmm. I haven't touched any of my location sound equipment in that duration of time. So I forgot that it exists, and I have become a farmer.
Yeah, I've seen evidence of it, and those things are sprouting. And yeah, a farmer, I was going to say just a gardener, but no, you got the little chickens running around.
Got the chickens, man. I've vegetable garden for a while now, but this year it was like, now it's for sustenance. Now it's because we must survive.
Yeah, and it was really good that you found that bag of overalls.
I know, overalls. You know, I had a stick of wheat hanging out of my mouth. And I legit started smoking a pipe.
I could also attest to that one.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because if you are a frequent listener of the show, you know that I have had my struggles with smoking cigarettes. Well, what greater opportunity to quit smoking cigarettes than a global pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
So I quit smoking cigarettes almost as soon as the quarantine stuff started. But I was like, if you've ever smoked cigarettes habitually, it's hard to cut back. So in order to curb the nick fits, then smoking a pipe. You don't breathe it in. You're just puffing on it like an old man. It's totes okay.
I don't smoke, but I also have nick fits sometimes.
No, those are my Nick fits. It's just you going into a dance rage.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how many people like were going like, I want to quit doing this. I just need a sign like at the exact moment. And how many people were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess that's a sign.
I don't even notice them, but I got that one.
Yeah.
That's received.
So I've been smoking a pipe, and my uncle, who is a connoisseur of pipe tobacco, gave me a full supply. So now I have my humidor that's full of cigars that I have frequented from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But now I also have my supply of pipe tobacco, fine to pipe tobacco. So I've been waking up.
Pipe tobacco.
I've been waking up at the crack of dawn and tending the garden with my tomatoes and my okra and my freaking Brussels sprouts and green beans and carrots and potatoes and all this mess. And then I got a wild hair, and there's been this fence that's been falling down in my backyard for God knows how long. And I got sick of looking at that fence, so I tore it all down and I refurbished the wood into a chicken coop and hen house. And now we have 2 hens. So now we have fresh eggs every day, man.
You've been going crazy with just the activity, just the amount of activity you've been doing. Like, I feel like I've been gone into hibernation on that point, and you're just like, okay, this is the time. Like,
I'm going to build an empire.
every time we see Brian's house now, it's just add additions to it, and like, oh, there's more life there. There's chickens and what, and okay.
Yeah, like a rope swing, and then I started a side hustle as a handyman. So I've been like installing lights and putting power outlets in there, crawling in the what's that called? The crawl space of different houses to install stuff. You're the
handyman. You should know these terms.
Yeah, I've been stuck down there. I will say, if I have the choice between an attic and a crawl space, I'll pick a crawl space any day because the attic is freaking brutal, man.
That's interesting. My first instinct would be to say attic.
No, screw the attics, because there's all that insulation that is in the air and that you have to wear a mask so you don't breathe it in.
True.
There's always the threat of you falling through the ceiling.
It's part of the fun.
Yeah. Whereas with crawl spaces, all you have to worry about is spiders and snakes. It's
That's
fine.
Too much for me. That's already too much. And throw in some rats, mouse.
Throw in some rats. Hey, all you got to do is just take a gun down there with you and have a quick draw battle with the giant rats. What could go wrong? It's that or karate. So
and it's a pretty tight space down there for karate.
I know. You try to roundhouse kick a snake down in the crawl space, you're gonna lose every time.
You're having some adventures down in those crawl spaces in your handyman.
Man, I'll tell you, I have been in so many uncomfortable spots during this quarantine, which it's actually been kind of cool to do handyman work because, like, you're socially distant. Nobody wants to hang out with the handyman while he's doing all this work, and most of the time, yeah, I know.
Those are the exceptions.
Well, I have a friend of mine come with me, and he always has an electric guitar on the swish effect just in case. So whenever I walk in with my toolbox, he's like, waka, 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 wow. It was the dumbest joke I'll ever tell on this show.
Very useful. You're social distancing safe for that guy, and he's coughing and hacking the entire time.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. Waka, waka.
Yeah. Which actually, if my voice sounds rough right now, it's actually because I was in an attic without a mask, and it's the freaking insulation kind of got to me. So,
right.
Yeah,
sounds about right. That you would be like, "Oh man, you have to go in there and wear a mask. It's bull crap." And then you go up there and you're like, "I'm not gonna wear the mask."
Well, I'll tell you, because when you start sweating your balls off and you can't breathe, man, it's brutal.
I'm with you. I've installed it. It's the worst.
It's rough.
Right, that summer's coming, baby. Yeah.
So to recap, I have been gardening. I have been smoking a tobacco pipe. I have been doing handiwork, and I now have chickens. Mm-hmm. So I am basically an 85-year-old man from the Great Depression.
You really went from like early 30s to late 80s.
Yeah. All it took was a global pandemic. So about you, what have you been up to for the past 3 months?
The exact opposite, man. The wife and I have just been hibernating, just trying to, get into our little cocoon so we can emerge as beautiful butterflies.
Love it.
going steadily through the list of video games. My other job is kind of just writing stuff online, and that's been going strong. It was actually kind of funny because they sent out an email that was basically just like, man, this COVID thing's crazy, huh? Good thing we're online. Anyway,
yeah.
Like
it was we've got a forward-thinking business structure.
Yeah, it was just one of those, like, this is affecting a lot of people, but not us. High five. See you later.
Yeah, never missed a beat.
So that's been going well. So, yeah, just that in video games. I do think that all the extra sitting in a chair has amplified my old man back.
Nice.
Horribly, because these past few weeks, actually, I've been in pretty bad pain back-wise, and I actually went to the doctor to, like, make sure, like, everything is just all right in there. And I got the test results back, and he's just like, yes, you are old. You are.
that was it.
Like, I went and peed. I gave them blood. They X'd my raise. I left a stool sample, even though they didn't ask. And everything seems to be coming up good. So basically, just dealing with an old back. But the good thing I can do that for is that I'm paying that health insurance, bro. So I'm able to get those tests.
Oh yeah.
Figured if I'm shelling out all that money for it, I might as well actually use it.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think you off the air, we have talked about how there's a very strong possibility that you, sir, have the antibodies to this entire situation right now.
I have the answers inside.
You are the walking cure because you got this thing.
I think allegedly.
We're like 99.9% sure.
Yes, because we came from the Bay Area. We thought it was earlier than all the other cases, but then they released data that was like, oh, actually, the first COVID death was in the Bay Area around the time you were there, Nicholas. So, and then when we got home from vacation, we both just came down with just the symptoms for it of just.
It was like the weirdest illness you've ever had.
Yeah, weirdest illness, cough, fever, muscle aches, and everything. And I went over to Brian's house to.
We had a writers' meeting.
We had a writers' meeting, and everyone was making fun of me because I was wearing gloves.
Yeah,
no mask, but I was wearing gloves because I was trying to be somewhat considerate. And those a-holes were just like, wearing gloves and being all safe. So I saved your lives.
Yeah, you probably did. You probably did.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna hold you to that you brought COVID-19 to a writers' meeting unbeknownst to any of us.
And most people don't even bring snacks.
Yeah.
So
I'm brought the global pandemic to our front door.
Yeah, everyone was just like, we're brainstorming ideas. Here's one.
I'm ready for all this crap to be over with. I'm glad the lockdown's starting to go away. It looks like movie productions and things are starting to get greenlit and move back into production. So I think it's good that we are talking about today's topic with today's guest, which is Ed Skoch from Aldgate Insurance. If you've been listening to the podcast recently, you've heard our ad for Aldgate Insurance. And we are talking
insurance. It's insurance.
And it's Aldgate.
And it's best.
But we're talking production insurance because that's, that is right now specifically, that is what is going to allow you to make your project happen at all.
It was super important before, and it's arguably even more important right now.
It's even more important now. Now, little disclaimer for you listeners. We recorded this back in, I want to say February.
Time travel,
future past. So, we don't talk about global pandemics in this episode. We are going to try to do a follow-up episode to this one to kind of update the information as far as production insurance goes with all the new stuff, because good Lord, people, it's new safety protocols that are being put in place to deal with this has been, I just had an 1.5 hour long meeting over new safety protocols.
Tongs!
For an upcoming, freaking using tongs is one of the ideas. We'll see how that plays out.
that may be a mainstay in a few months. We'll see.
We'll see.
So
I don't
when you
know.
listen,
Production tongs.
So when you listen, we're not ignorant. We're just in the past.
Yes. This episode makes my brain hurt so bad. Even whenever I was editing this conversation, it was my brain was exploding over and over again. So enjoy, put on your thinking caps, and let's go to our conversation with Ed Skoch from Aldgate Insurance. Ed Skoch, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me here, guys. I really appreciate it. The opportunity to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you because the topic of insurance, especially in the world of filmmaking, is so... Nick, back me up here. Would you say it's kind of intimidating?
I'm backing you up, man. I'm backing you up no matter what. It's super intimidating.
I thought you were going to say boring.
It's scary. No. Whenever I hear insurance, it doesn't go through a boring filter. It goes through I'm in over my head filter. Yep. That's a lot of paperwork filter. And then maybe it touches on boring, but those two definitely first.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's for me, the cocktail talk. If I want to shut it down, I just tell people I'm in the insurance industry. I don't want to talk to them.
I don't want to talk to this person anymore. I want some more of those cocktail weenies.
Well, and it's funny because when you're making a movie, if you're wanting to do it seriously and safely, safety is something that we talk about a lot on the show. Insurance it's such an important thing, but again, I feel like it's often overlooked.
Yeah.
Or at least it's like thought of the last. Like, oh, right, I need like liability stuff and all that jazz.
It's usually thought of right as people are preparing to do something dangerous.
Right.
Just like
Somebody's like, we can't throw that person off that bridge.
It's like, so what, do we have insurance?
That's right.
So before we get started, tell us exactly who the company is that you're with and what exactly it is that you do.
Sure. So I'm a lawyer by trade, also a patent attorney, and I was doing litigation for a long time, and then I went inside an insurance company. I was an underwriter, and then I left and co-founded Aldgate Insurance Services, which is a commercial insurance brokerage. And one of the things we specialize in is insurance for the entertainment industry. So it's film, music, events, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a renaissance man as a lawyer.
Freaking
insurance,
boom.
Yeah.
Try to be.
Yeah. Well, and is that in Oklahoma, insurance agencies that focus on film, is that kind of rare? It feels like it's rare.
It's rare. There's only a couple of us really that focus on it. And so the insurance company I used to work for, I was at Lloyd's of London for a while. I was in New York. And so opening up the brokerage here was interesting because Oklahoma has such a great film rebate program. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that we work on is because of that.
And it gets mistaken for New York all the time.
Oklahoma, New York.
It's the same
Sounds
thing.
exactly the same. So you're based in Oklahoma. Is there a particular region that you guys cover?
So insurance, basically you have to be licensed in each state that you sell insurance in.
Okay.
So we're headquartered here. So we are licensed in the state of Oklahoma, but we also have licenses around the country. Not in every state, but in a great number of states.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Nice. Very cool.
So, again, we're talking about insurance, all you listeners. I'm going to be kind of coming back, not only to keep the listeners on track, but to also keep me on track, because I'm one of those that when you start talking insurance and attorneys and that kind of stuff, I get lost super easy. So I'm going to try to be keeping myself on track.
Right. What percentage of people do you think that happens with you, Ed? Like you start talking about the insurance and everything, and then you just kind of see eyes start to just wander a bit.
But I wanted to make my space movie.
I tell you, so what you said was totally correct. People come to us at the last minute. It's like, we're going to start shooting this weekend or tomorrow. Can we get insurance today? No, we don't know where we're going to shoot. No, we don't, have the script done. I mean, I'm joking about it.
Well, we have a camera.
And a dream.
So it's what I prefer is to give people kind of a white paper, a FAQ saying, okay, before you call me, have the following items in hand, because then I can move much faster.
Right.
And
that's
some
great.
of the stuff we can bind the same day if you come to us with full information, the script, what the value of the equipment rentals are, who you need certificates of insurance for, where's it going to be? What's the budget?
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
What was it like making that change and dealing kind of with more film entertainment people? Because speaking as an artsy fartsy type person, we're pretty weird and out there, and insurance really kind of is the last thing we think of. So how was that adjustment?
So the biggest difference is that most insurance is bought on an annual basis, right? So your automobile insurance, your homeowner's insurance. And so what I did historically is work on commercial insurance, which usually a company comes in, they're used to purchasing it. They know kind of what they want. It's going to be a year. They pay the premium up at the beginning of the year. And their business is going to be the same over the course of the year. And they're going to come back the next year, and the business is probably going to be the same. With film, is it going to be 30 days? Is it going to be a single day shoot? Is it going to be 180 days? Is the budget going to be 0? Which it can't be ever.
Yeah, the least consistent.
It's got a high degree of variability, especially when it comes to the time.
Yeah,
so that's the biggest difference. So you can do policies on an annual basis for sure. So if you're an entity that shoots commercials all the time, you buy an annual policy just like a regular business. You're going to be shooting 15 commercials this month. Web commercials. You're going to be doing this. You're going to maybe do a documentary. Whereas a film, a project-based policy, is it one day? Is it a year?
The traveling circus. It's such a weird, I'm going to start a business for 30 days.
Yeah, it really is.
And then it's going to disappear.
It really is just like a campsite of a business each time, like this movie, LLC. And you're like, oh, that's cool. It won't exist in like 40 days, but that is cool.
Yeah.
And that's the problem when people come in with this idea that they can do that, but they're not prepared for all of the things that they have to have lined up right at the beginning. So get the insurance. Usually when I counsel people that are starting a business, I tell people, first, get a good accountant. Second, get a lawyer. Third, get a good insurance broker. But do those things prior to launching the company, because you want to have those things lined up. You want to have your accounting has got to be set up. You've got to know what form the business is going to take and what you can do legally, and you're going to operate in multiple states, et cetera. So film, you really want to do the same thing. Try to find that insurance broker and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here, I've got a little lead time. Get a quote. Go through the process of getting that quote a month, 6 months ahead of time, whatever. When you first start hatching that idea, then you can sit on that quote, come back to it later, hone the details, and then you've lined the things up. You've gotten a quote, so it's already in your budget, so it's going to cost X dollars. So your investors, you don't have to scrounge $5,000 or $15,000 at the last minute, because we're shooting on Saturday.
Yeah. And so again, I feel like film people are just a special breed, because sometimes the lack of preparedness is almost kind of shocking. So like, what percentage do you think of, either producers or projects that come in and say, we have all the stuff that you have, we've thought about the accountants, or how many, or like what percentage is that, and what percentage is kind of like, I don't know, make magic, fix it for us?
I can't really say, because it's really highly dependent upon the size of the budget, right?
Okay.
So if it's, say the budget is under $1 million bucks, a lot of those folks don't, the person handling it hasn't been through this rodeo a bunch of times. They're not sure, they don't remember, somebody else handled it last time, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas, once the budget is over $1 million, let's say it's 3 or 5 or whatever, those people generally know what's going on. But even they will have gaps in their knowledge base, because maybe they've moved around that food chain in the film. So maybe they didn't place the insurance last time, but they were just, they were part of that process. They were one of the people that helped, or they're the ones that just got the certificates, and now they're the ones that are actually buying the insurance.
That's a very good point. I've definitely jumped onto a new project. It's like, I've never done this role before. And then people are like, oh, usually this happens. And I'm like, oh, cool.
No.
Someone should have told me that.
Well, I want to hone in on So to take a step back and reiterate, this is for me.
Brian's reset.
Take a step back and reiterate. So we have like a production company who's going to have insurance annually.
Movie,
And then-
LLC.
Right. Then you have a project-based insurance. What's it called?
So the first one would be, Video Ventures LLC. That's the
Gotcha.
annual one.
Gotcha.
Movie LLC is the project-based one, just
Right.
for the single movie, and then
Yeah.
they're done.
Right.
It disappears.
So I want to focus in on that low budget movie. Like let's give it a budget of
Movie LLC.
Movie LLC. We're gonna give it a budget of $50,000, right? So I'm thinking of the average of our listeners that would be making a movie or something like that. Let's say 50,000, and that's even. That might be a little high for some people.
A little. I'm sitting here like I would love 50,000.
Right. Yeah. But, when you have that low of a budget, and you've got to spend that budget on production costs like wardrobe, like hotels, like paying your actors, paying your crew and all that kind of stuff. Why is it so important to spend X amount of dollars on insurance, on your lawyer, and what was the third one? Lawyer,
Accountant.
and accountants. Yeah.
Yeah. So number one, you're going to have to follow if there's any payroll involved. Oklahoma is pretty straightforward. Unless someone is a pure volunteer, you're just going to give them lunch.
Mm-hmm.
They need workers' comp.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Basically,
Yeah. And that's the state law, right?
that's state law for workers'
Gotcha.
comp. So you start paying somebody, and guaranteed, you should be looking at workers' comp. Now, this is something to talk to the lawyer about, right? Are these people really volunteers? Not something for me to answer, not something for an insurance broker to answer, but talk to your lawyer.
Yeah.
And you want to have somebody that's, you're going to come back to time and time again and say, yeah, steer you in the right direction. So workers' compensation, think about that. Number two, general liability. Are you getting it? You're getting that to protect the public as a whole. You're also getting that if it's required for permitting reasons. So you're going to do a shoot in downtown Tulsa or Oklahoma City. They're going to require you to get a permit to shoot that film, right? So part of that process is buying the general liability. Oklahoma Film and Music. Also, if you're going to get the rebate, you need general liability.
So you have to have your insurance lined up in order to even approach the rebate.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think you can get pre-approval. Promising you will get that.
Right.
Don't know if you have to have a lineup.
Right,
That's a
but
question I'm not sure the answer.
but that is the thing with locations. That's usually kind of the first or second thing they'll ask is like, do you have insurance?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
permits, and then the locations. If they're going to rent the space out to you or something, you're going to shoot a lodge or something like that. They're going to say, we need the general liability for this shoot, and we need a certificate. Number three, I think, is inland marine cover, which covers your equipment. So you've got two types there. You've got the rental equipment, and you've got your own equipment. So if you have a bunch of nice camera equipment, somebody's going to come join you, you want that covered for breakage, loss, whatever, that's inland marine coverage.
Gotcha.
Brian, you're
If you're
about that,
renting
right?
it.
I'm all
Yeah.
about that. We were talking a little bit earlier about, for me, it's so important. I'm walking around with, 5 figures worth of equipment all the time. And I'm bringing that gear onto some rando's production. I don't know these people from Adam, aside from just the basic interview process that we've had and, deal memos and all that kind of stuff. But I'm entrusting this production with my gear that I have bought over the course of 10, 12 years. So having a certificate of insurance is really important because if something breaks, I got to know that it's going to be taken care of. So can you explain a little bit of what the COI is and all that?
Sure. Well, let me finish the inland marine thing first. So you might buy, if you have enough equipment, if you don't have the coverage under your rental policy at your house or your homeowner's policy, you might want to buy just inland marine coverage just to have it for the full year. We have somebody that year in and year out, he's an Okie. He buys equipment cover, and guess what? Just had a claim. His house essentially got broken into and looted.
Oh, gosh.
So all of his equipment gone. They knew what they were taking. So
we need to talk after
yeah,
we're done.
Right.
That is a thing of nightmares, man.
Either that or you just got to start carrying around all your equipment all the time,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Batman utility belt.
I'll tell you, anytime I leave my car with my gear in it, I'm always like, my butt puckers the whole time.
Yeah.
Just like,
I mean, that's your
no,
livelihood
God,
in
no.
your car.
Yeah, exactly. Please, no.
Yeah. So that's, and any rental house is going to require you to have that certificate of insurance, because if they're going to hand you the stuff, they're going to want to have the coverage.
Yep.
You know, anybody here in town, anybody here in anywhere, if they're renting the stuff out to you, they're going to require it. So those are the three basic insurance parts. And then of course there's automobile insurance for commercial auto. If you're renting vehicles for driving around. And then after post-production, you know, you're talking about errors and omissions insurance for the copyright and trademark possibilities. If you want to get the thing out onto Vimeo, or, you know, get a deal with Sony to distribute your film, they're gonna require you have that stuff too. So there's a whole bunch of different types of insurances. Okay, so now,
Man, okay,
certificates
we're gonna
of
come back to
insurance.
that too, because I want to know.
Yeah.
But let's talk COI real quick.
Certificates of insurance. So the most important thing to know about that is it is a document produced on a standard form, industry standard form, and right at the top it says this does not confer rights. It's not a policy. It's not coverage. It's signed by the broker. It's basically a summary of the insurance they bought. So the problem with it is that right at the top it's telling you it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it all just sounds like, why is this here? This is not a piece of paper.
Yeah.
If you're a rental house, you might want to be thinking about actually asking for the policy.
Oh, okay.
Or the declarations pages of the policy, so you actually see that the coverage is in place and they have, you know, they don't have an exclusion in there for whatever.
Gotcha.
So it'd be a good idea to actually get the actual policy as opposed to just a single page certificate of insurance.
Right.
That's what I would recommend to rental houses and basically anybody that's requiring insurance. Ask for the policy. Ask for the declarations page.
Gotcha.
And look, if you're an insured, get your policy. Do not put up with having a broker that does not give you your policy, by the way. All right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Don't just get a
Name
certificate
names,
of
Ed. Who doesn't? Who's not giving out the policy?
Well, when I have to go to somebody and actually request that, you know, can I have that policy? And they're like, yeah, we never got it.
Yeah.
This is all I got.
Yeah.
I just went in and signed some stuff and then, you know, got this certificate. I'm like, eesh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like almost an imperfect impression of me. I just feel like if the guy just handed me papers and I signed them. I thought the movie was good then.
Yeah.
Demand more. Ask for more.
So what happens if, say, that low budget project, you know, say they're looking at all the production expenses and all this kind of stuff, and they just say to themselves, you know what, we're not gonna spend the money on insurance. We're gonna place our bets in getting this thing done, and nothing goes wrong.
Sobbing over here.
Okay.
What are the risks that happen when you decide to just completely 86 an attorney, 86 your insurance, 86 all of that, and you just 86 means not go with for the layperson? I forget that's like waiter talk.
I feel like there should be like a ding in that. Bing. 86 means.
I think there's the story behind that. Is it what it was on Commercial Street in New York? There was an 86 as a bar that used to be a speakeasy.
Okay.
And the bar burned down, I think. Check this out.
Okay.
And it was
Check
86th from the face of the earth.
86, commercial. You said knock on the door.
I cannot wait to get that Jeopardy question now.
Check it out.
I actually learned 86 from whenever I waited tables for 6 years. That's why my self-esteem is as low as it is.
It's been beaten down.
Yeah, beaten to a pulp.
With a tenderizer.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when you work in film, everybody waited tables, so we all use 86.
Yeah.
So
that's it. New York City.
Anywho,
That's funny. I
So-
always thought it was a film thing. Sorry.
nope.
Check it out. Fact check.
Fact check.
So what happens when a production decides to 86 insurance?
So maybe everything goes just fine. It's, insurance is for when it doesn't go fine. So you have, a disaster happens, you lose your kit, your equipment goes missing, gets stolen, gets pulled out of a car and goes missing. So you're sitting there having to pay for it yourself. That's the equipment cover. Obviously, if you've rented it, they're going to come after you because they're really not going to put up with you going back to the rental house and saying, yeah, sorry, dude,
I mean, that's a chill rental house.
I know I just photocopied and whited out an old film that I worked on and gave you the certificate. But
Has that happened?
Really I've never heard of that happen.
Okay. Just making sure.
I can make it up though.
Okay.
I'll tell you what.
The workers' comp, that's a law thing. That's
that's something that you have to do, or else you're in violation of the law.
This is why you need a lawyer. Decide whether or not you're required to have the coverage. Make sure you have the coverage. So that can be a problem. The general liability, it's you injure somebody that's a bystander that's walking down the street. You drop a light on them. You put something through a window. You ruin some floors, etc. It's coming out of your pocket. So, do you want to, one of the best things about insurance is someone to call. It is the person at the other end of the line that picks up the phone when you go, oh no, this happened. One of the main reasons you buy general liability coverage to sleep at night is that you can call an insurance company. They hire you a lawyer that responds to that lawsuit that you got or the demand that you get in the mail where it says, pay up or else.
Right.
So plus a lot of these policies have additional bells and whistles to them where you can ahead of time get a checklist. Here's your safety checklist. If you're going to go through this, you can contact lines for free just because you have a policy and go through it. Okay, I could pass this out to everybody on the crew. Here's some suggestions on how to stay safe in the event of XYZ. Getting caught on the rainstorm on the in the desert.
You heard that story.
Yes.
Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I think that's probably in there.
Yeah.
So you have it's a lifeline. It's something where you've got help at a really cheap price. Really. No one wants to respond to those lawsuits themselves. Imagine having I've talked to plenty of people that didn't buy a certain type of insurance, and then they get the letter from the lawyer saying pay up or else, and then they end up having to pay a lawyer much more than they would have paid the insurance just to have it go away. That's even if it goes away.
Jeez.
So I had somebody tell me, they got a cease and desist letter on a trademark and copyright. It was actually on a copyright violation, and they said, oh yeah, I spent $15,000 on lawyers just to make it go away. Never paid $1 for it. And like, you could have bought the insurance for a fraction of that. And it's not something that everyone thinks about. But.
Well, and that's another really interesting perspective to keep in mind is the cease and desist stuff of because we make sketches about Facebook and ring.com and
that is
all that
true.
Stuff. Yeah.
Brian, stop putting that into the universe.
And everything's been going great.
Yeah, and nothing will happen.
Yeah. But I mean, you never really think about that. I know I'm using myself as an example. Like, we rarely think about stuff like that when it comes to just getting sued or something like that.
Yeah, or just literally just putting stuff out. Do you have whenever someone comes in, it's like, well, we don't need that insurance or we don't need this. Do you have some kind of, do you have something you say to them, or is it kind of more just, or is it more just like, hey man, what? Okay.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. A little bit of that too.
Horror stories.
Yeah.
So there's not something, it's a business decision. It's always a business decision to buy insurance or not buy insurance if you're not being required to have it by law or by someone that's, just says, look, if you're going to sign this contract with us, you have to have the following insurance. So we welcome the people that say, we're going to be at this location. Here's the insurance requirement. Can you get me insurance that meets that requirement? Okay, super straightforward. Here's the bill. They're going to end up passing it off usually anyway, building it into the budget. They know ahead of time it's a done deal. Okay, no problem. With the people that make the decision not to buy, when it's something that, we just presented to them, look, this is going to cost you about this much.
Yeah.
if you're gonna do stuff that's got some inherent danger to it, you should be thinking about building in some cost factor for this. You just should.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of guerrilla shoots.
Me neither.
You know, it's not a great idea.
I prefer humans myself.
Guerrilla,
Yeah.
nom de guerre.
Yeah.
Oh, those
Like laboratory.
those French filmmakers.
Those guerrilla filmmakers.
All right, Jean-Luc.
I mean, I've heard stories like this. I know someone that they did this. They went into an abandoned building. They did a shoot. A light goes pop, and the sprinklers all go off.
Oh my gosh.
So the police are coming. The fire department's coming.
No.
The equipment's gone. They're under threat of arrest for trespassing.
Oh my God. That just makes
That's
me
a bad
think
day.
of,
You don't want to do
like
that.
film sets, like we've had a Murphy's Law episode on the show of like Murphy's Law just rules the set. And like all of us have our own Murphy's Law story. I mean, Nick, I'm sure you've got a ton. I sure have a ton. Like you cannot, you can't predict some of the crap that happens.
No, and it's almost kind of shocking at this point of like, again, it's not the first thing you tend to, again, using myself as an example. We're throwing ourselves both in there. But
We're throwing ourselves under the bus a lot on this one because
like,
I feel like I'm so guilty of so much.
it's like, I don't think of these things or getting insurance, but then just the thought of it of like, oh my gosh, I've been on so many sets where the worst case scenario, and it just happens just like that. And you're like, why wouldn't you have insurance to just have that peace of mind to protect from it? Because almost any time I feel like on set, it's been like, okay, as long as this doesn't happen, we're fine. Like, I feel like that gets said so many times, and it's just like, just get rid of that. Just get your insurance, man.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it.
yeah.
Yep, definitely true.
What is the have you seen the movie Lost in La Mancha?
No.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from an insurance standpoint, anyone out there, every one of you listeners should watch the movie Lost in La Mancha. It's about I can't remember the name of the director, but back in the early 90s, there was a movie called The Man of La Mancha. And
Terry Gilliam?
Terry Gilliam, yeah. And he was trying to make this movie that was based on a very classic story. And when you watch the movie, it's just like one thing after another goes wrong. And it like the location that they chose, they ended up being under the flight patterns of supersonic airplanes, so that they'd break the sound barrier, and like they couldn't roll sound or keep glass because they would shatter. There was a massive rainstorm that hit that completely changed the whole landscape, which has I've been on a set that's happened to. Mm-hmm. And there was a point made in the movie about, and I remember this in film school talking about, there's a term for it, an act of God. What's the legal term for that?
Yeah, an act of God. It gets you out of a contract. If there's you might have a contract that makes it where that's an out from the contract. You cannot perform because something is broken that chain. You just simply can't do what you set out to do.
Mm.
I always like that line in the contracts. It just kind of makes me smile for some reason. It's like, well, if Jesus came back, we'd be like, well, let's stop for a minute and just kind of take this in.
Let's ponder this for a moment.
And we're all good with this, right? We can all stop? Yeah. It's an act of God. Okay, good. It makes me smile.
The Lord is back. Does our insurance cover this?
Can we have lunch? Can we have a longer lunch?
So in that kind of occasion of like, say, so I'll use the example of a movie that we shot down in Jinx several years ago, where we were filming. We saw on the radars, we were shooting down in this valley area, and it was very steep hills to get down to our location. We were shooting down in a riverbed that at the time had no water in it. Then an Oklahoma-style storm swept through. The sound department was underwater within, I'm not even kidding, like within 15 minutes, the sound department was underwater. The stake bed trucks and like all the trucks and everything that were trying to make it up the hills kept sliding, and like almost like it took us 2 hours to get out of there just to get back to a safe, secure place. So that would be considered an act of God. So where can insurance come into something like that?
So, I mean, it's important to know that that insurance, and this is going to get to a broader topic about coverage, what insurance does, right? And so where a common coverage under these policies is like extra expense or cast expense, where if someone gets sick, you have to stop shooting for a while, you can get some coverage there. So there are some coverages that you can utilize for suspension of the shoot. And, I think we're getting into mainly bigger shoots at that point, and you're talking about completion bonds and this kind of thing. So it's probably not the target audience we're talking to now.
Right.
But what this brings up is the importance of what insurance is supposed to cover, and it's fortuity, right? So if you're banging holes in the wall and mounting stuff on a location and you leave and they say, hey, you really messed my wall up, that is not covered.
Oh,
Because it is intentional. You're banging holes in the wall.
Right.
You're hanging stuff up. You're supposed to be fixing that. So there's no fortuity there. You did it on purpose.
that is a very interesting point.
Same thing is true about one of the disaster stories. So a few years back, maybe you saw this in the news, there was a shoot in, I think it was Georgia. They went onto some railroad tracks.
Yeah. Sarah Jones. Yeah.
Lady killed. Director goes to jail, right?
Yep.
No coverage because illegal.
Yep.
So
the insurance
you're
did
done.
not cover that. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Now,
that kind of stuff just drives me freaking on the production side of things. Like, why the hell would you make that choice to get on that railroad track?
So you have to be thinking in terms of same thing is true, and this is hugely important, I think, because this comes up all the time. With the equipment that you're renting, you have it on set, you need to be doing those inventories on a daily basis, right? Keep track of the equipment you're renting, because you can't, at the end of the shoot, just have a whole bunch of stuff go missing and expect that to get covered.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because
makes sense.
that's just mysterious disappearance, or that's just stuff that goes missing. It's your task with keeping control of it. So if it goes missing, the reason you take the inventory is so that you can say, hey, where's this stuff? You can talk to the crew, and if a police report needs to get made because it was stolen,
Right.
now you make the police report, and guess what? That's going to be covered.
Yeah.
So same with stuff gets stolen out of a vehicle. The vehicle gets broken into. You make a police report.
Yeah.
You'll get that stuff back.
So that way, if you have a pre-written out inventory, it's not. If you don't have that and then something gets stolen, you can't just be like, well, I lost my Rolex watch.
My platinum watch.
Right.
My gold diamond.
My Lamborghini's gone.
Oh, my spare Fabergé egg.
They'll be, prove it, dude.
Here's a picture that I got from Google.
So
There's a picture of it on my wrist.
Yeah.
Not on my wrist.
Yeah. That wrist is black, sir.
Yeah. So So do you like a challenge whenever someone's kind of giving you insurance? Like if someone came up and was like, I got a stunt heavy, explosion heavy feature. I'm seeing the head start to shake a little bit.
The stunts this is so fascinating, because what people don't realize, what is a stunt.
Right.
Okay. So you can go down the typical things like, any pyrotechnics, you're going to explode some stuff. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. But remember, basically anything with an animal is a stunt. It can be
interesting.
a lap dog. Well, that is generally excluded under policies because that's something with an animal.
Right.
Wow.
Almost anything with a vehicle, you should just assume it's not covered. Certainly no racing, athletic competitions,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. I guess the other thing that people don't think about is, we're just going to have a fist fight, but it's just choreographed. So it's going to be, it's kind of like a bar fight. And I mean, only if some bottles will be thrown, but that's a stunt.
Yeah.
Or we're just going to drive, there's like a gang of us and we're going to drive ATVs around. That's a stunt.
Right.
You have to think about it in terms of, almost anything where some large injury can occur, it's going to be considered a stunt. So falls, of course, squibs, of course, pyrotechnics, that's all stunts, but even just animals.
That's so interesting.
Definitely horses. So what you need to do is ahead of time, be ready, tell your insurance broker, we're going to have the following stunt. You need details about it. It's going to be one scene. It's going to be shot on this Saturday, probably. It's going to involve 3 actors. Here's what's going to happen. What they're going to come back with is they're going to say, okay, who's your stunt coordinator? Let's see a resume from them. What have they done in the past? And give that to us, and you can get it approved generally.
Yeah.
So
and then the insurance would cover those things.
It would cover it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's kind of blanket exclusions for all kinds of stunts. It's just a blanket exclusion.
That's interesting.
The
So
automobile is another. This is a really important point.
Okay.
Automobiles. You cannot expect to put a rig up on a car, film it driving around a street or a parking lot without that being a stunt.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
if you are going to film automobiles from the sidewalk and those aren't your people in the car and it's just cars driving by, in general, that's going to be covered.
Yeah.
But somebody's in a car shooting, or they put the rig on the outside, that's generally going to be a stunt. So come forward with it immediately. Let's get that stuff on the policy, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, will you get charged extra? Depends on the stunt. Or think about ways to work around it. And this is a critical thing. I know some guys came to us a while back and said, we're going to shoot a kid in a boat on a lake. I'm like, okay.
What could go wrong?
It's a stunt. He's not going to get shot at, right?
Yeah.
No, it's going to just a kid in a boat. Great. No Fredo scene from The Godfather. Nope.
It's Godfather
It's
Jr.
just fine.
Yeah.
So I said, it's going to cost you more. We can do it. We can get it done. And I said, instead of that, why don't you put the boat on the shore and put the kid in the boat on the shore? Think about,
Being strategic in the way that you cover the scene.
Yeah, use CG if you can, or think about Psycho.
Yeah.
You don't need to necessarily see the scene. We had somebody redo a fall from a window, same way. First, they were going to do, it's only going to be 2 stories.
Only 2 stories.
It's fine.
Why don't you shoot from a ground floor?
Yeah.
And have them, kneeling outside the window and show a hand or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they restructured it so they avoided it being a stunt. So you can do that. You can get around them by just being a little bit more creative, or not showing it, or sound off camera, or something like that. Let's be creative in avoiding the stunts. Then you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're not doing a stunt anymore.
You know what this makes me think of is like all those times that you're on a shoot and someone gets a bright idea of, like, oh, what if we, like on the day, like, wouldn't it be cool if we did a shot of this or did some kind of this thing? And that is such a kind of a sobering perspective on, that part of the creative process that you do have to keep in mind of, like, sure, you can do that, but if something goes sour because you didn't do the proper planning, because you didn't, follow the correct procedure, then you're going to be in way more financial hurt than you would had you just gone through the correct, procedure.
I mean, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt on set.
Yeah.
So you're creative, be creative.
Right.
Use your thinking to try to avoid involving people that are going to get hurt. So you can usually figure out a way around it.
Yeah. So don't treat it like you're being stifled. Treat it like a challenge to be met.
Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop.
How often whenever those lists of things come in, like, oh, we want this, how often does your head kind of just go, oh, boy.
I'm the bad guy for telling them. I don't make the pricing up.
That's true. You're trying to protect them, and they're like, how dare you, Ed?
That's insane. That price is insane.
Yeah. But the alternative.
Or they say, this is the one that drives me nuts, is when they come to me and they say, well, we did this on the last film and the insurance was half the price. Like, okay, was that insured?
Ah.
Are you, is that,
Were you
Are you
completely
giving me a
honest
line?
with the
Yeah.
insurance
Yeah.
broker whenever
Yeah.
you're, man,
yeah.
golly, that's,
So there's a little bit of detective work with it too, of just like, come on, how serious is this guy or
Yeah.
person, or a little bit, just like, okay.
man. Okay, so we're going to take this from stage one. We're going to do a little role play with Ed here, and we're going to get insured for our movie. Nick, what do you think? What's a good title for our movie?
Baseballs of Wasps.
Baseballs of Wasps.
Yes.
And let's see here. We're going to come up with a quick log line. Baseballs of Wasps.
Is this white Anglo-Saxon Protestant?
Yes, yes, baseballs of wasps. So it's made of people.
Yes. I don't know.
So it's not a stunt.
Okay, no animals.
No
Yeah,
animals.
right.
No animals.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, let's see, this is the coming of age tale of a man who establishes his all wasp baseball team to face off against the
boomer generation. I don't know.
boomer generation.
The wasps versus the boomers. I don't know.
It sounds like
Young wasps.
yeah,
It's
like
the
a gang.
It's the young wasps versus the kids from the YMCA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those kids from the YMCA.
Those little rascals. Yeah. So we done found. Okay, so Ed, I want you to play the part of Ed.
Let me get in character.
Acting. He's
My
getting,
one true love.
he's getting into character. All right, Ed, thanks for meeting with us. Me and my partner here, Jimbo, we done come into a pretty good bit of change, and I tell you,
big chunk.
big chunk. I don't ask how it came about, as mysterious circumstances, but it's in our hands.
We'll
it's
just
cash,
say we like Breaking Bad a whole lot.
and I want to make a movie about wasps, but not the insects.
That's right. It's a coming of age tale about a man that establishes a baseball team to beat the boomer team.
So, Ed, let me tell you straight up, we're not going to have too many stunts in this. This is going to be pretty straightforward. We don't need this insurance crap, do we?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you have money because you came to the right place.
Yeah. Me too. I agree with that first part. I am glad I have money.
And I'm really glad also that it's not a zombie film.
That's the sequel.
That is the sequel. That is the sequel.
So what we need to figure out first is, do you have a script, guys? Is this just broad stroke?
We got what we call an outline, and that's about it.
It's going to be actually we're going to kind of do it Curb Your Enthusiasm style. You've seen that Curb Your Enthusiasm. Well, that's mostly improvised. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have an outline basically, and each scene, the actors are just going to hit one beat after another, but ain't going to be no script.
Improvisation.
Okay. So you're going to have to tell me what the budget is. You're going to have to tell me when you're going to start shooting. Is this tonight?
Well,
Tomorrow
let's.
night?
Well,
Hopefully we have a little bit of time.
We got $50,000 in cash.
I got the camera in my car. I was kind of hoping I could walk out and just start, kind of filming and going to it. If you're telling me that can't happen, oh boy. But yeah, we got a pretty penny. We got about $50 grand to spend.
Anybody requiring you to have insurance? Are you going to be shooting?
No
in
one
a
tells
place
me to
of
do nothing.
Well, look, are you going to go to any city that needs a permit to shoot on the streets?
You sound like just all them officials I've been emailing and everything. I said, we want to film here. They said, where's your permit? I said, it's called being a United States citizen.
So we were actually thinking about shooting. Basically, we're going to use this ghost town up north Oklahoma. There used to be a bunch of lead mines there, but it's the town's done been cleaned straight out, so it's empty. There ain't nobody there except for a couple OSBI. But we're going to shoot there.
Couple six-legged coyotes, but we don't worry about them. We're not going to film them.
I'm going to assume you have permission to shoot there. I don't need to know anything more.
Assume away, Ed. Assume away.
We're looking at, we're going to be shooting there for a total of 10 days.
Mm-hmm. And 12 nights.
That's right.
So we need to know, first of all, I got to tell you, if it's going to be baseball, that's considered a competition. So that's a sporting competition. So that's a stunt, guys.
Oh, no.
So
What? What are you
have to know
telling
more
me
about
here,
this
Ed?
baseball game. Let's give me some sketch about this, about the about the story. So is anyone going to be set on fire? Anybody going to be exploded? Anyone going to be shot at? Are we talking about squibs? Are we talking about people in boats? Are we talking about people in airplanes?
You done this
talk about precision driving?
You done just described the opening credits.
So I would say that it's going to be about 50% baseball games. Okay. Now we do have a Rottweiler who is the mascot of the game.
Don't ask why, because it's wasps.
He's the mascot. He's going to be in a wasp costume. It's adorable.
It's a Rottweiler in a wasp.
That's right. We're trying to sell tickets to a specific demographic.
We know our people.
People like Rottweilers and wasp costumes playing baseball.
So I assume you guys, you definitely have some distribution deals set up. I can tell with a film that sounds this fascinating. I mean, you're already talking to Sony or
Ed. Have you ever heard of YouTube?
Oh, YouTube. Okay,
It's gonna live right on there and take off like wildfire. It's gonna get a viral.
We're gonna put it on the Tubes of You, and we're gonna put it on Vimeo. That is the plan so far.
Vimeo. But that's about all we got lined up. So yeah. You can get us that. We don't need that insurance, right? But you can take care of us in case anything goes wrong, right?
Definitely need to buy a policy. This sounds like this is a real movie. It sounds like you guys have really hit on something that's going to be fascinating.
It's been
very creative, and the world is going to want to see this movie. Therefore, let me get you an application. Fill it out. We can get you insurance really quickly on this. I think this just sounds like you sound like the gentleman that I really want to be working with.
You know what, buddy? I think this. Ed, excuse us for a second, Ed, buddy.
Roscoe.
I don't think this is the guy.
I think this is the guy too.
I think this. He rolls with us. We know he knows what we're about.
This here's our man.
Do you know how to write your name?
I think it starts with a J.
Oh, I'm just gonna.
All we need is an X on the.
I'll just put an X.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
That looks more like a Y, but that's all right.
Oh, you partner.
So, all right. So we're looking at a 10-day shoot up in I can't even think of the name of the town.
But it's not
Lead
as
Poison Town.
Not as radioactive as it used to be.
Not nearly. So now we're looking at describe to us, because this ain't going to be one of them annual things. This is just one of them project to project things. So
project, yeah. Do you have an LLC set up for this film?
I got an LLC and a DUI.
Perfect.
We got to have an LLC. What exactly is a LLC?
I think you need to talk to a lawyer and then come back to me when you have this all settled.
I didn't talk to a lawyer about the DUI.
We cut to after we've talked to a lawyer and established an LLC. Oh. Fast forward.
Jimbo.
I'm feeling better already.
Did you bring the camera?
Well, Roscoe, I actually left it in my locket box.
Oh, it's over.
But I did bring the certificate that proves that we're a Lilica now.
We're legit.
How much is that camera worth? What kind of equipment are we talking about?
Was about
for this filming.
Was about 10,000, but then looks like it's floating down the river right now.
So you're gonna need to rent some new equipment then.
It looks like we're gonna rent some new equipment. Now I got a buddy who's got a red.
I got a cousin who's got a blue. We can put them together and we get a purple.
I think we need to get a white so we could get. That sounded weird.
Oh, don't you be talking.
I was going to try to get a red, white, and blue, but.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep, there we go.
I think I found a place I'm going to edit right out.
Yep. So that's our movie. I feel like, you know what? I feel like now that we brought Ed on board, I feel like that movie's going to take off, whatever it was called. Baseball Wasps.
So.
Ed, you've been such a good sport.
You are a trooper.
If anybody could make insurance funny, you guys did it.
Just this awesomely informative dude just taking his Sunday just to sit on a couch with a couple weirdos. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much.
You guys are wearing pants. In person.
And just wait till you leave.
Now, before we let you go, though, I do want to touch on the distribution side of things, because you mentioned that at the very top of our conversation about.
I mentioned it to you guys when you came in with the movie idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to start thinking about it right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think you're going to get a distribution deal, start thinking about clearance of those copyrights and trademarks, right?
Yeah.
So somebody might have made a movie called Baseball Wasps.
I feel so sorry for them.
That might be registered already. You might be out of luck.
I should have done Googled that.
You start looking at, a lawyer could help you with that, right? Get your clearance logs. Make sure you get your releases from the people that you're interviewing. If you're doing an improv thing, people on the street, you need to make sure you have all that stuff together. Make a nice notebook of all of the clearances from all the talent, and look at the scene, your scene logs. Right? Do you have anything that's copyright or trademark in people's shirts, T-shirts, in the background?
All the little stuff.
All that little stuff. But if you're thinking about it ahead of time, it makes it a little bit easier to pull out later on. That movie sounds so comic, it might just fall within the...
It was a war drama. Historical period.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. So afterwards, if you've got that stuff, if it's in your head, you won't have to recreate it. You can create it on the fly. You don't have to create it later. It puts you in a good position to get a distribution deal if you've already got that stuff lined up. And then, there's insurance that you'll be required to get. Let's say you get a deal with Vimeo. Mm-hmm. They're going to require 3-year policy for errors and omissions that's going to cover copyright and trademark violations that are in your film in order to get that distributed on Vimeo.
Oh, so you need to get this stuff even for the distributor to even consider you.
No. You can get they'll require that on the deal. So that'll be part of the contract. We're not distributing this film unless you have the insurance. But guess what? Recreating all of that stuff later, going back to everybody and saying, can you sign a release because we're going to get a distribution of this film? And you're going to have that stuff ready and put together. And to go back through the film and have to scrub logos and, trademark material that's in the background. If you can avoid shooting it initially, then you have a whole lot less to worry about.
Save yourself some pain and anguish, people.
Yeah, and that's pixelation on someone's T-shirt. Who wants to do that? Post production. That's loads of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what is this live PD?
this pixelation?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's important to Greek the products that are in the shot and everything and all that. Which we need to talk to an art director about Greeking, which is whenever you strategically cover logos and all that kind of stuff. It's tedious.
I want to talk to someone about Frenching.
That's disgusting.
Ed, I feel like we've only covered the first initial layer of this. Do you think we could eventually have you back on?
I would love to come back.
Yeah, because I feel we've scratched the surface and there's so much more. And Ed, you're just a wealth of knowledge on this.
I'm still wrapping my brain around that animals are stunts.
Yeah, for real.
That's going to mess with me for real. That's a good
dad joke.
The perfect period to end this.
Well, Ed, if somebody is wanting to reach out to you, where would they do that if they're looking for insurance on their project or their production company?
So definitely in Oklahoma, we have oklahoma-film.com.
Very nice.
And we've actually laid out in super simple format some of those facts about stunts. Go look through the list.
Excellent.
If you fall in that list, including furry animals, ask for that right at the top of the order,
Yeah.
Another baseball.
Yeah. Dude, this is writing itself.
That's where Nick and I are going to go and write this movie after we're done.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. We're shaking our heads as we're saying it.
Ed, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a real pleasure.
This has been awesome.
My pleasure.
And we can't wait to have you back for sure.
The Okie Show is a mostly harmless media podcast recorded at Tower Studios in Oklahoma City. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you're a business or industry professional that would like to advertise on the podcast, email info@okieshowshow.com. Rates starting as low as $25.